It's truly unfortunate that we are dividing the human species on gender bias. But it might have become necessary now because of centuries of exploitation that's been heaped up on the woman in different societies, in different forms, because we created very exploitative societies. When human societies are fashioned like this, naturally the male will rule. When strife is the way of the human society, naturally the male will rule, simply because of the physical prowess of the masculine. A society can be created on equal keel only when we establish a certain stability in the social structure. When survival is not the pinnacle of life, survival is just a small part of our life. Only when civilizations are well established in a way where art, music, aesthetics are as important as economics, defense and other aspects which rule the society today, only then a woman will find her rightful place in a society. As masculine brings one type of value to human life, feminine brings another type of value to our lives. Unless we are able to see that both these values are equally important in our lives, there will be no true equality or justice, or you cannot say a civilization exists. So if intelligence, sensitivity, perception are the most valued aspects of life, then only gender equality will come. What is needed now is to bring to the awareness of the masculine that feminine is an equally important part of life. The media, education systems and other social setups must strive to do this, that our lives will not be beautiful just because we make so much money, just because we build this or that. Our lives have to become beautiful means the feminine, the aspect of the feminine has to be around us, only then everything will be beautiful. What we refer to as masculine and feminine are two fundamental qualities in nature. It's got nothing to do with the gender. There may be men who embody the feminine qualities much more than most women. There may be women who embody the masculine much better than most men. It is important that a society begins to recognize this, that one's body may be either female or male, but one's quality may be feminine or masculine or a combination of both. This is a nation, this is a culture where inward looking is one of the most significant aspects of our lives. Because of this inward looking, if you look inward deep enough, you will see every individual, whether you are in a male body or in a female body, the masculine and the feminine exists in equal proportions within you. And hence, even our gods are represented like this. Shiva is shown as the Ardhanari, he's a half man, half woman. But I think it's time we name this day as the Day of the Feminine rather than Women's Day. because it's important that the feminine comes forth and plays in the world. So, on this day of the feminine, I am taking the liberty of renaming it. Instead of being a woman's day, let this be a day of the feminine. This is a culture which has worshipped the feminine for thousands of years. It is important that we must bring that spiritual ethos in our cultures where every human being, his life and his experience of life is not limited to the physical body. He sees life as something more than the physical. He experiences life beyond the physicality of who he is, because the gender is of the physical nature. If your experience is beyond the physical nature, gender will be just a minor issue in your life. There are many things or many levels in which the exploitation of the women has to be stopped. By law, I think generally we've stopped it, but in reality, in social reality is yet to happen. So it doesn't really need a fight on the street, it needs a proper enforcement of law. But if a proper enforcement of law has to happen, a conducive social situation has to happen. And that conducive social situation is not going to happen unless there is widespread dissemination of knowledge in the form of education and the economic possibility. If these two things happen, I don't think women will have to fight for their freedom, they will be free anyway.
It is clearly understood. Kali means she's time. Kali worship has been there for many millennia. Ultimately, your skull also will hang on her mala one day because she's time. Kali also means emptiness or space.
So, Prakash from Mumbai asks, when I have nothing to do, what is the best way to kill time?
I'm glad all of you got it. Oh, I didn't know people in Mumbai had nothing to do. They're usually busybodies. Well, you are going to kill time? No, time is killing you every moment. It is time which kills you, not about you ever killing time. Now, you're in Mumbai and you know the whole controversy right now going on about Kali. I know the controversy is of political nature, but now that Kali is in picture, let me tell you what Kali means. Kali means she's time. All those skulls around her neck, I want you to understand the present imagery of Kali, of being fierce and the queen of the battles and chopping off demons' heads and all this, is only approximately 14 to 1500 years old. But Kali worship has been there for many millennia. So these are more recent images, and in the last 2-3 centuries she's become more of a benevolent mother and all these things. I think these are all external influences which have happened, but essentially Kali means time. Ultimately, your skull also will hang on her mala one day because she's time. She's Mahakali. And because of that, time is always dancing away, never stopping, isn't it? You can stop your watch if you want, but time won't stop. Only Americans have the habit of turning 1 hour forward, backward once a year. Otherwise, it's always running away. Once I did time travel, see, I'm not an ordinary man. Oh, worldwide they're waiting, the Guru will say something wise, but I'm fooling around. Because that is the wisdom of life, that you don't get so bloody serious about your existence, fool around a little bit, huh? No, the boys are understanding fooling around differently. I'm not talking about that. With yourself, make a fool of yourself because you are a bloody fool. You're sitting on this tiny little mud ball which you call as planet Earth in the middle of nowhere, and how many things you think about yourself and how significant you become when you're just a speck. Both in terms of space and time, you occupy just a speck of this cosmos. So Kali represents both time and space. The word Kali means… Kala means time, Kala also means emptiness, or Kali also means emptiness or space. So there is only one term in yoga for both time and space because we don't see it differently. It's modern intellect which is trying to see it like this. Because there is space, because there is point A and point B, it takes time to travel this distance. Why don't you see it this way? Because there is time, there is a possibility of point A and point B. I'm saying you can go on doing chicken and egg business with it. So we don't see it as different. You can go on arguing which is first, time first or space first, chicken first or egg first. This has been going on. The wisdom of life is like this. One day, Shankaran Pillai, it was a reunion of their college people after many years, 15, 20 years later. So they all went to a big restaurant where all the friends were, when they reunion, they have to speak loudly. Hello? Because within 10 minutes, half of them will be nearly drunk. You have to speak very loudly to get your so-called friends, that you don't see each other for 15 years but you're best of friends, all right? So others were busy talking and drinking, and Shankaran Pillai, everybody ordered all kinds of food. Shankaran Pillai just waiting for the food, he's hungry. He's not interested in the conversation because he knows when he was in college also they spoke no sense. Now, nonsense matures. Yes. See, you listen to your teenage children, they're kuchu 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 kuchu, they're going. You think, what nonsense are they talking like this non-stop? But they listen to your conversations and say, this is dumb nonsense. Because they see their nonsense has matured. Nothing really big change happened. Same thing, taking on different forms. So, Shankaran Pillai just sat there waiting for food. Then this debate came off. Is chicken first or egg first? Big argument happening among all these people, almost fighting over it. Then somebody poked Shankaran Pillai in the rib. Hey, what is this? You're just sitting there, what do you think? Does chicken come first or egg come first? Shankaran Pillai looked like this and said, whichever they ordered first will come. So, Mr. Prakash, Kali, time is killing you. Don't ever think you can kill time. What you're saying is, there is nothing you can do about time. You cannot use time, you cannot kill time. You can make use of yourself or you can kill yourself. This you can do.
Bhrigu became intensely devout about Shiva that he became very feminine. So Parvati felt little irked by this, so he asked her to move. Oh, Shiva was just amused by this tiff that is going on between his wife and his devotee. If you are not aware of this already, Shiva in yoga is seen as not as a god, but as the Adi Yogi. That means he's the first yogi. And the Adi Guru, that means the first guru. And today, yoga as a science, yoga as a system, yoga as a technology for inner well-being is available to us only because of the feminine play. That is, Parvati compelled him to teach. By himself, he would have never done that. So because he became the first guru, naturally he developed disciples and devotees. Of the first 7 disciples that he taught yoga to, who are known as Saptarishis, of these Saptarishis, the whole of southern mysticism has come from Agastya Muni. He is everything to us here because everything that we know is from him. He was Shiva's direct disciple. Another disciple was Bhrigu. Bhrigu became intensely devout about Shiva that he became very feminine, because devotion is feminine. He became a great devotee of Shiva. So every day he comes and he wants to do… 3 times he wants to circumambulate Shiva. That means he wants to do pradakshina 3 times. He doesn't start his day without doing that. And Parvati is right here. By now she is also a fully enlightened being. But he ignores her completely and he goes only around Shiva, never around both of them. So Parvati felt little irked by this. So one day, she sat close to him. Then Bhrigu came and there was no way to go around Shiva without going around Parvati, so he asked her to move. This is the way of a devotee. They are not logical people, very feminine, but they're intense. Parvati said, "Why should I move?" He said, "I will go only around the Lord, not you." Bhrigu saw there was not enough space for him to go around Shiva alone, so he converted himself into a mouse and went around Shiva alone, ignoring Parvati or excluding Parvati from the circumambulation. So Shiva was just amused by this tiff that is going on between his wife and his devotee. So he looked at the whole thing and he grabbed Parvati and put her on his lap, just to see what he will do. How is he going to circumambulate Shiva without circumambulating Parvati now, because she is sitting on his lap? Then Bhrigu transformed himself into a bird and went around just Shiva
And Shiva was completely amused by this devotion, very pleased and also amused by the way the devotee is expressing himself and the way Parvati is getting fired up because of this discrimination. So Shiva said, okay, let's see what you will do. And he just merged her into a part of himself. Shiva has become half Parvati and half woman, half man. This is half man, half woman. If one knows how to nurture this one to its fullest extent, this will become half man, half woman, and that is how it will be. So this is called Ardhanari, where he is half man and half woman. So he made her a part of himself, just to see what the devotee will do. Now Bhrigu made himself into a bee and went around only the right leg. So Shiva and Parvati, both of them laughed and they said, this is not a man. He's too feminine. What he is dedicated to is everything to him. He's blind to everything else. So he just buzzed around the right leg, refusing to go around the left leg because this is Parvati. Then this childish way of devotion of Bhrigu was amusing and nice, but at the same time, Shiva did not want Bhrigu to be lost in his devotion and miss the ultimate nature of the existence. So, he got into the yogic posture of Siddhasana, where there was no way for him to circumambulate his leg or any other part of his body. If he has to do it, he has to do it for both these principles of feminine and masculine. So this is how this body became like this, that it is half male and half female, or masculine and feminine in equal proportions. If one knows how to nurture this one, both will be fully active and alive in every human being. If we let these two parts of us reverberate as intensely as the other, each one of us can be a 100% man and 100% woman within ourselves. The whole science of yoga is based on this, that you should not miss either the masculine or the feminine in you, because any one of them will be a lopsided life. Now when we say yoga, we are talking about a dimension which is all-inclusive. It is not an exercise or a process for creating health. It is about ultimate well-being of the human being, in which you cannot exclude any aspect of life. It is about attaining to a dimension beyond all dimensions. It is about a system and a method to use your own existing system as a ladder to the divine, to make your body, to make your mind, to make your emotion and your energies a ladder to the divine, to make yourself into a stepping stone towards your ultimate nature.
can consecrate a stone to become a goddess? If a human being is truly willing, why can't we consecrate a human body to become a goddess? Either out of her own sadhana she can become one, or someone who can convert a stone into goddess. Can't he convert a woman into goddess or a man into a god? Should it be not possible? Very much possible.
You know my great-grandmother. People used to say, she is a devil of a woman. When I saw her, she was over 100 years of age. They called her a devil of a woman not because she ever did any harm to anybody, but she had a laugh. If she laughed, the entire street shook. Like that she laughed. She lived to be 113, 113 years of age. She was married into a very rich family, a big land-holding family. When she was 68 years of age, after her husband had died, she left the family, went out and built a small temple for herself. She did not install a god, she installed herself in the temple. She'll do her own thing there, her own type of worship, her own type of everything, and she can tell you anything, you know. When she's there sitting in the temple, she can just tell you about anything in the world. You know the history of Europe, where spiritual process was so widespread and how systematically it was uprooted and thrown out when they wanted to establish an organized religion. So all those millions of witches who were burned are just those women who exhibited certain qualities which did not fit into the logic of that society. My great-grandmother for sure would have been burnt as a witch. In India, they wouldn't burn, but they were afraid of her laughter. She's definitely a witch. So, we need witches. We need witches in the world. We need women who are more capable than their logic. We need men also like that. We need human beings who are capable of perceiving, understanding, experiencing life beyond the horrible limitations of logic.
I want to at least produce 3 to 5 real Devis, really, I mean flesh and blood women, to convert them into true goddesses of different qualities. And people can experience them as such. We have enough people with sufficient energy, we just have to put them through certain processes to get them there. In energy, they are there. It is just that they don't have an understanding of their energy to make it in a certain way. They're just loosely energetic right now. We can easily turn that around.
The goddess worshippers existed right across Europe, Arabia, Africa, South America, India, of course. There is not a single village in South India where they don't have their own goddess.
Sometimes even in little villages. The Devi temples which were consecrated hundreds of years ago are still very alive.
The yogis create their own deities and make it alive. Rakini, Dakini, Chinnamasti, Kali. These are all terrible images of feminine manifestation. If you hit your anahata, they think a welcome bell has been struck and they tend to come. The living goddess tradition is a very beautiful tradition. I've seen many women like this who are just sitting in one little temple all by themselves. A woman who's born like anybody else, if she can become a goddess, the possibility is open to everybody at some point, isn't it?
This question is from Siddharaj. Namaskaram Sadhguru. Devi is a manifestation of divine, and you said many Devi temples all over the world were destroyed. I would like to know, why was Devi not able to protect herself?
Oh. Well, yes, it is a fact that the worship of the divine in the feminine form was hugely prevalent in the present-day Europe, Arabia, Central Asia, all these places. But it has managed to live only in this part of Asia still. In other places, it's been violently uprooted. Well, maybe a better documented version of uprooting the divine feminine is, all of you have definitely heard of, witch hunting. That term is still being used today. If something unfairly, somebody is being hunted, we say witch hunt. This comes from the term during the time of the Crusades. It is estimated they burnt over 6 million women alive over a period of probably 150 years or 200 years, I'm not very sure about that. But over a period of time, those crusade period, when somebody was very ambitiously spreading their religion, this is what happened. These women who were burnt like this, and many were simply burnt for various other reasons, but it was all just label somebody a witch, that's it, people will burn them down. Even today this practice is still there, unfortunately here and there. So who is a witch? In some way, when a woman displays, she's capable of doing something or knowing something beyond childbearing and cooking, she's a witch. Yes, that's how it was. So generally, the Devi temples always spawned women who are capable of other things. Right now we are breeding a new culture of Bairaginis and Devi sadhakas. The idea is to not just have red devils walking around in the ashram. The idea is, slowly divinity walks around. They may take their time, but gradually to produce what you considered as divine, which you enshrine, must live with legs. So, the divine feminine has been uprooted simply because the Abrahamic way of religious process is purely male-oriented, it's completely masculine. There is no room for feminine to be anywhere there. It's God and His Son, it's God and His messengers, all male messengers, never female, because they're not reliable. They may say something else, because they may know something else, that's the problem. So, because of this, in Arabia, in Europe, in Central Asia, a lot of destruction happened. But there is not a single village in entire India without a Devi temple. And when I went to Somnath temple, it was destroyed 17 times over by a certain kind of warlord from Afghanistan. 17 times he makes this trip, which is over probably 1500 kilometers. He makes this trip just to destroy this temple. First time I can understand because there was wealth, there was gold and stuff. All right, he looted it, destroyed it, burnt it down and went. Why come second time? Maybe little more wealth. But after that, there was no wealth because people just put up small things. But he came 17 times and destroyed. So I was inquiring, what is it? The thing was, those three goddesses that they talk about in Arabia, pre-Islamic era, one of those goddesses, one of the deities, some devotee carried it from there and established it in the Somnath temple as a consort of Shiva. So they wanted to destroy that goddess. So the guy makes a 1400 kilometer trip 17 times on a horseback to destroy her. That is how important it is to destroy a woman in this world. That's how important it is. Because if you empower the feminine, then all the silly laws all the silly ideologies, laws of heaven and nonsense that you've created, all that will collapse. I will not go into the mechanics of how it'll collapse, but think through this. Suppose you accepted a woman as a god. Suddenly, going somewhere and living well will go away, because that's not the nature of the feminine. It is always masculine. He wants to go somewhere and then live well. At least to another place in this country or another continent in this planet or another galaxy or another dimension called heaven, paradise, whatever you want to call it. This is a man's thing, he wants to go somewhere and then live well. He can't live well here, this is his problem. This is a huge masculine problem, that he cannot live well here. If you look at the male and female, you will see the feminine always wants to settle down, wherever little comfort, settle down and live well. Man wants to climb the mountain and settle down on the other side. This side of the mountain is not okay for him. So, if you made a male god and a female god and they were together like Shiva, Parvati, something, you will not want to go anywhere. Even Shiva settled down in Kashi because of Parvati. He's a wanderer. But during the winter months after he got married, he found she was finding it very difficult to be in high altitude in Himalayas. For her sake, he came down to Kashi, but then he also started liking it so much. For a long time, he did not go back. So, feminine always brings settling down. Masculine wants to propel somewhere. That propelling, too much propelling. We need some propelling, of course. Too much propelling is causing enormous destruction on all levels of life. Today, a whole lot of people have started philosophizing only because we overdid our economy, viruses come to neutralize our economy. I am not saying that. This is not the way to balance our economy or our activity. There are more sensible ways to do this. And one important way to do it is empower the feminine. You will see in many ways this propulsion will come down a little bit. Either you must be inward-oriented, then you can sit here. Or you are in some way bound to a woman, then you will sit here. Otherwise, single man Can't control him, he's all the time on. If you are inward oriented, very effortlessly you will sit, otherwise a woman can tie you down. In many ways, the economy and the destruction of the planet has still not gone to that place where it's not irreversible, simply because most men still need a woman. Very few men who can live without a woman. They are either ascetics, so no problem, or they are super ambitious tyrants, they are a problem. Yes. So, has Devi been destroyed? Well, I'm telling you, she's all over this country. In every village, there may be no temple for a male god in a village, but always there is a temple for a Devi. No Tamil Nadu village is without Mariamman. No Karnataka village is without Mari. Here, there she's Mari, here she's Mariamman, somewhere else she's Kali. She's good at taking on lots of names. So, why couldn't she take care of herself? This is the nature of a woman, that if it's getting too ugly, she won't be there. She will go and settle where it's conducive. That's exactly what she's done. We must take care of her.
This imagery has continued just to indicate that the bestiality in a man, even modern neurology recognizes that one part of your brain is that of a reptile. There is evidence to show that the reptilian brain can become more transparent and starts communicating with the outside part of the brain.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru. I want to know what is the significance of the form of Mahishasura at the feet of Lingabhairavi and the
That
bull
means
form
a man was killed by a woman.
and the bull form at the sides of the yantra.
Do you understand the question? Mahishasura is a man first. We really don't know much about him, but traditionally he got terribly bad press. So he was supposed to be bad. And Devi killed him. And his vehicle, poor guy, maybe he couldn't afford a horse, so you used a buffalo. And not only he was slaughtered, even his buffalo. Buffaloes can fight. So, in the past, certain people rode buffaloes because in a fight, a buffalo is much better than a horse. Horse is taller, that's the only advantage, that if you are a good fighter. But buffalo, if you train them well and if you keep them well nourished, they can rampage through crowds. So buffalo was a good one. And of course in India people used elephants to fight. He used a buffalo. This imagery has continued just to indicate that the bestiality in a man, the beastly nature, the animal nature in a man, because you didn't drop from heaven as some people believe, you evolved. The qualities of an amoeba, an earthworm, a grasshopper, a buffalo, every kind of beast that evolution went through, elements of those qualities are still with you. Yes, sir, you know.
they're still with you. So, these are all compulsive tendencies. Even modern neurology recognizes that one part of your brain is that of a reptile. There's a reptilian brain which is approximately the size of your fist. So those of you who have a big fist, I'm sorry. You show your fist, huh? Somebody else say he's got more animal in him. So, the evolutionary process, the modern neurology recognizes that there is a part of your brain which is reptilian. That means it's at that stage of development which is instinctive and does things in a certain way. But over that, a flower of cerebral cortex evolved. If you function out of this, which is a happening, which happened after human spine became erect. After the human spine became erect, the outer flower developed, which is what makes you human, which is what gives you thoughts about universality of the existence, which is what gives you an idea that everything is one, which is what allows you to be a scientist, this is what allows you to be a spiritual seeker. But if you go back to this, all you have is instincts of survival. So the entire process, the human effort through education, through spiritual process, through meditation, everything is to move away from this and function from the outer dimension, which is a more recent happening, but this gives you a sense of seamless way of approaching life. If you go to the reptilian brain of who you are, fixing boundaries is all that you know. So whenever you are having problems with people around you, always wanting to fix your boundaries, this is mine, this is yours, my space, my air, your air. When it comes, you must know you gotten here. Now the spiritual process, the yogic dimension is looking at how to make this, because if you function only from one aspect of your brain, it'll work, but not enough, you're not using all of it. So there are methods, some of the methods you are already practicing, but the idea is to open this up. There is evidence to show that the reptilian brain can become more transparent and starts communicating with the outside part of the brain. There are experiments, there are studies which show that with certain practices of meditativeness, reptilian brain, which is always about fixing boundaries, will begin to communicate with the outer part of the cerebral cortex and it function as one brain. So I don't know if you should. The flower should open up, and that is why in the yogic, you will see all the imagery in the yogic culture, flower, flower, small flower, small flower, small flower, big flower. It opened up. If it opens up, now human intelligence is functioning in a very unifying way, not in a divisive way, not in a way that you will become exclusive, you will become inclusive. Inclusiveness is not a philosophy. Inclusiveness is the nature of the existence. No other creature is able to realize this. They're all busy fixing boundaries. The dog is peeing all over the place, not because of urinary problems, but he's establishing a kingdom, pea kingdom of course. Human beings are not any different. They're doing the same things in a different way. This is mine, that is mine, that is mine, that is mine. Fixing a kingdom, when it's possible, push it a little bit. When it's possible, push it a little bit. Not possible, put the wall. Happening all the time. So, the imagery or the symbolism is that beast has been killed and put down. That is the symbolism of Mahishasura and his buffalo, dead and down. This means you are big flower. And Navaratri is coming now. That means Navaratri literally means 9 nights. Why this Navaratri is, every month after the no moon day or the new moon day as it's called here, or the Amavasya, after that, days are counted. 9th day is called Navami, that means 9. 9th day it is. These 9 days are considered feminine. Out of the 28 days, 1.5 days or nearly 30 to 36 hours is a neutral time when the full moon is on. So 27 days are the days which are calculated in a certain way. 27 days or 27 is significant with reference to the solar cycle also. So 1/3 of it is called the feminine part of the month, the 9 days. The remaining 18 days are masculine in nature. So when the feminine is on, the Devi's thing is on, so that is why in the tradition, up to Navami, all the worship is for the Devi. After that, things will change. Particularly in the tradition that comes from Kashmir, which is a very strong feminine worshipping culture, I'm talking about the past. Today if we say Kashmir, you think of terror, you think of militancy, you think of extreme manifestations of many things. But this is all started about 7 centuries ago. Before that, and even after that, for quite some time, Kashmir was a very strong Devi process and very feminine-oriented practices, very powerful things were done. There are every Navami, that is every 9 days in this 12 months that is going on, they're dedicated to different Devis. The one that comes now, which is called the Dasara, or the Navaratri as it's largely celebrated, this is dedicated to Devi Sharada. This was considered most important because Sharada is the goddess of learning. So among the various things that a human being can do, this tradition held learning as the most important that a human being can do. He can fight, he can win, he can conquer, he can run. But the most important thing that a human being can do is they can learn. That is the significant aspect of who we are. Other creatures can run faster than us, they're stronger than us, they can do many things that we cannot do, but they can't learn like us. So this Navaratri, which is coming now, end of September, or no, beginning of October, I think, is dedicated to Sharada Devi, the goddess of learning, because this is unique to us. This is the pride of being human, that you can learn just about anything. If you're willing, you can learn. Even if they are willing, the other creatures cannot learn. So this is the most significant Navaratri dedicated to Sharada, and you must prepare learning something. And either you must open up or she will slay you. She'll put you down there. The symbolism is also this, that when masculine exists by its own nature, it naturally lives instinctively. That means this. Only when feminine enters, it can become little open. So when it opened, the masculine or the beastly nature fell at her feet because she rose out of that. So the symbolism in the Devi temple is just that. Because she rose in full power, this bestiality is down there.
Through the mystic eye, eminent personalities from various walks of life in conversation with Sadhguru.
In this week's episode, Sadhguru and Shekhar Kapoor, globally recognized film director, media visionary, and proponent on the future of new media, walk through the making of a space dedicated entirely to the divine feminine. Explaining the need for the feminine in today's society, Sadhguru speaks of the phenomenon of consecrating energy forms and the dynamic forms of goddesses present in this culture. Watch as he takes us through the unique process of designing an appropriate structure suitable for a Devi.
I'm very fascinated by what you… because there's a lot of construction going on here. It's almost like, you know…
The whole humanity is in construction.
Okay, all right, I'll buy that. I'll buy that. So Sadhguru, this is a temple that I know you told me that it will last thousands of years, and it's a feminine temple. It's a temple devoted to the female aspect, not only of us, but the whole existence, the feminine aspect of existence. So tell me about this. This is not man-woman, what is it?
What is feminine, what is masculine? So you need to understand this. Human understanding comes from a certain perception, a limited perception. When I say limited perception, right now your whole perception comes through your sense perception. Sense organs can perceive something only if there is something to compare with. For example, right now, you know silence only because there is sound, and you know sound only because there's silence, isn't it? See, right now if I show you this part of my hand, you can only see this. You cannot see this. If I show you this, you can only see this. So this is the nature of sense perception, whether it's your eyes or your ears or your smell or your taste or your touch, everything is only by comparison. So, the moment you perceive through sense organs, you already divided the existence. So because of the division, your mind also thinks in divisions. Because without divisions you cannot perceive, without two there is no logic, so you need two. So these two fundamental principles, because we are human, we are a species with man, woman, masculine, feminine, we are calling them masculine and feminine. So in this culture, it may be referred to as Shiva, Shakti, or in other cultures, yin and yang, whatever.
So Shiva being masculine and Shakti being feminine.
Yes.
Why Shakti? Shakti means power. Why is that feminine?
Not
You would
power,
expect-
Shakti means energy.
Energy, okay.
It's energy. Unfortunately, because of various, civilizational and exploitative situations in the human societies, we are thinking of energy as power and dominance. No, energy is just energy. Without energy, nothing happens.
So I could say this temple is a temple for energy.
Feminine energy.
Feminine. So let's go in and you tell me what feminine energy is, as against masculine energy. Is this what you call a leap of faith? Right? From intellectualism to consciousness
This
is
doesn't
one
take
big
any
leap.
faith, it just needs a leg.
Or a broken leg, okay.
When we say a temple, this must be understood. The temple is like a body. To energize the system, temple is not a place of worship. Temple is not a place where you go and make appeals to some unknown god up there. This is not that kind. This is not a place where you lead a prayer. That is the uniqueness of this culture. Here, temple is like a body, energized in a certain way. Now if you see the masculine temple that we have, is circular in nature, because that is the quality that it is. The feminine temple is in the form of a triangle. There's a whole lot of things in its geometry, how it is made. See, all the wings are 33 feet, properly done in the multiples of 11. It is made in a certain way to create a feminine energy there. Why 33? If you go into these details, there are enormous amount of science behind that. Like your spinal column is 33 aspects, and…
Which I just risked right now. Okay.
So there are so many aspects to this which I don't wish to go right now, but essentially it is feminine energy. Where was the need for this, in a way? See, one thing is today, the feminine is at huge risk on the planet. So immediately people may think, oh, that's because of the man. Maybe man instigated it, but when I say masculine and feminine, I am not talking about male-female. I am talking about those two aspects, those two dimensions of life, without which our life will not be beautiful. Our life cannot work actually, even in the most fundamental way. So, because people start thinking in terms of dominance, this is a problem. If you're not looking at life as dominance, if you're looking at life as integration, if you're looking at life as cooperation, if you're looking at life as oneness, then without these two dimensions, there is no existence. But unfortunately, societies have taken on to this as to who is dominating right now, whether masculine or feminine. If any one of them dominates, it'll turn ugly. It's not that if masculine dominates, it'll turn ugly, or feminine dominates, it'll turn ugly. If any one of them dominates, it'll turn ugly. Above all, if you start thinking in terms of dominance, your life will turn ugly. By domination, you will not know life. Only by inclusion you will know life. So this is essentially to create an energy force where people can experience a powerful sense of feminine, a fiery nature of the feminine thing. See, feminine is a very fiery form of energy. But today, because we have made economics the most important aspect of human societies, naturally, see, we need to understand this, economics is being glorified as if it's some kind of a divine thing. Economics essentially means survival process. Economics has a place in our life for sure, but it is not the be-all of life. So feminine doesn't belong to that dimension. If in these societies, love, art, music, above all aesthetics of life was dominant in a society, if aesthetics was as important as economics, nobody had to bring up the feminine. Feminine would be naturally, exuberantly alive and manifest in the society. Today, either we are slowly making all the women like men because they have to survive, they have to earn money, they have to provide, or a small percentage of them in reaction not being able to cope with that, they're becoming like Barbie dolls. Here we are creating a woman who is fiery and powerful in a completely different way.
But what you're saying is, you just said love, art, aesthetics. You use those three words as part of the feminine energy. Now, I'm a filmmaker, I'd like to assume that I have all three in myself, so that's my feminine energy.
Yes, it is.
So
If you do not have the feminine, you won't look and think in terms of what's beautiful, what's not beautiful. You'll only think in terms of what's useful and what's not useful. You'll become utilitarian. The masculine is like that.
So that's…
So you being a man or a woman has nothing to do with it.
So am I in conflict constantly between my masculine and feminine self?
Why? See, that's the whole thing. These two energies are the basis of creation. Why would they be in conflict? They're in absolute collaboration. It is only in human mind that it's in conflict. In life, it's not in conflict. In energy, it's not in conflict. Only in mind it's in conflict because mind divides.
Because to people, when listening to you say the sheer absolute power of the feminine energy, they don't relate to that. They see feminine energy as something gentle, nurturing, soft.
No.
Tell me about the power of feminine energy, because
See,
a lot of our culture talks about various goddesses that have a sense of huge power and almost violent
the original
power.
goddesses that we created in this culture were all Kali, Bhairavi, now she's Bhairavi, all fierce, powerful creatures, okay? Somewhere down the line, when the outside influences came upon the culture and people made fun of them, people ridiculed your women are like this then they tried to domesticate the feminine. And then they created Saraswati, Lakshmi, very soft, gentle, housewife kind of feminine. Bhairavi, you can't contain her to the limitations of your house, not that she cannot stay in your house, you cannot contain her to the boundaries of your house. She's all-encompassing, that's the nature of her, that's the nature of the feminine, that it's all embracing, not all conquering, you must understand. Man wants to be in conquest, a woman wants to embrace. And by conquest, you will never have it. By embrace, you will have it, isn't it? See now it's come to a point where the work has become almost feminine, okay? You need gentle hands to do what they're doing. But before that, this rock was in the quarry, okay? There you needed some hard tools to cut it, make it a big piece, transport it in the truck, bring it in, hold it there, cut it down to size. All that was very masculine. If that masculine work had not happened, this feminine part would be not possible. This is so in the society also, I want you to see. If the man goes about, breaks down nature, builds his home and all this, then the woman comes in and makes it beautiful. If she didn't come in, he would just have a rock house which is of no consequence. Nobody enjoys being there, they'll have a house and they'll live outdoor. It's happening in cultures where feminine has been suppressed. They have great homes, but they always want to be outdoors.
It's a good place to talk about what consecration means. What does consecration mean? What do you consecrate? I mean, what is that? What is that process and what does it achieve?
See, this is happening everywhere around you, all the time. One form of existence or one form of energy is transforming itself into another. What is mud is becoming flower, fruit and food, isn't it? What is filth is actually becoming a flower. What is stink is becoming fragrance. It's happening. If you eat the food, this food becomes, from what was just a grain of rice, becomes such a sophisticated machinery like human body. So, if you make mud into food, you call it agriculture. If you make food into this, you call it digestion. If you make this into mud, usually we call it cremation or burial, whatever. So if you can make a stone or some other gross substance, a material substance, into a divine reverberance, into highest, subtlest possible reverberance, that's called consecration. So the whole existence is doing it all the time in different levels. So this is a certain science and a technology through which you transform the grosser elements into finer elements. Unfortunately, this was always mistaken as producing gold. The alchemy of the West is always talking about producing gold. Gold has no worth except in the market, okay? It's only greed which makes a man go towards gold. The Indian alchemy never talked about making gold. Indian alchemy always talked about making grosser elements into finer substances, making a stone into the divine. So the whole Indian alchemy is like a consecration process. Right now, there is an agricultural science, right? They will teach you how to study the soil, the qualities of the soil, the seed, the manure, everything. So they only set those conditions. They will set the soil conditions, they'll set the seed condition, everything else that's necessary to grow. But the growth itself, the transforming earth into food, that no scientist does. That is happening by nature. Here also the same thing. We have a whole science. If we set all these conditions, the growth becomes subtle. So when I was building something and this was my first project, I'm building a farm near Mysore. And I'm doing it with a real short shoestring. So, when I want to in the end I want to paint it, and I don't have the thing to get painters to paint this large wall surface. So I want to paint it and it takes too much time to go like this. So what I do, I dip, hold it here and just walk. One smear of paint from this end to that end to this end. The first smear that I did, I dipped and walked like this. Here the smear was thick. As it went, it became lighter, 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 lighter and became really subtle. I just looked at this and I burst into tears. That was one great moment of realization for me. This is the whole creation. From a rock to divine, this all the thing is. It's either dense or it's subtle, that's all it is. It's the same existence everywhere. Whether you look at the earth or you look at your body or you look at what you call as divine, it is all the same substance. It is just getting subtler. And whatever we are creating as divine is just that, making a rock into a subtler form of energy. Every substance on the planet is exuding a certain kind of energy, reverberation, which is a scientific fact. You can change the way it exudes, what type of energy it exudes, you can change that. Altering that to a very subtle and useful form of energy is consecration process. So temples were energy forms, temples were energy places, where every day in the morning before you start your day, you go sit there for some time, imbibe this energy and go into the world. Why this became necessary is, see, once you step into the world, for an ordinary person, a common man, every transaction in the world, whatever it may be, what is your profit is somebody's loss, what is somebody's profit is your loss. Whether it's family transaction between husband and wife, father and son, between business partners, or every transaction, there's something to give up, something to take everywhere, that's why it's a transaction. So if you're not sufficiently lubricated in the way you are, every transaction is a point of friction, a possible friction. There are some people who are making every transaction into a friction, some people are conducting their transactions gracefully. So every day going, sitting in the temple was just this, you are well lubricated. When you step out, you can pass through the world with least amount of friction. So this is a very, very significant instruction which is still alive in the southern part of this country. Here, nobody tells you if you go to the temple, you should pray. They always tell you if you go there, you must sit there. You must sit there for some time and come. But today the instruction has become like this, the way they're following it is, they touch their bottom to the floor and they go. Nobody told you you have to pray, nobody told you you have to make an offering, you just have to sit there. But they also told that people on the spiritual path need not go to the temple because they have self-charging mechanisms. So temple is essentially for a householder who has his own way of transforming his energies. Use a public place, a battery charging place it is. So this is feminine energy, it's triangular. The whole temple is triangular. It's an equilateral triangle, okay? There are many aspects of the geometry which I don't want to go in, but the significant aspect is, there's another triangle fitting into this in a smaller capacity. So a downward triangle is…
And that's this one?
No, this downward triangle always symbolizes the feminine.
Okay.
The upward moving triangle symbolizes the masculine. But here, normally it would be depicted like this. Okay, this is also the Star of David and whatever else the star is used, and this is the basic yantra for Sri Chakra and everything. This is the masculine and feminine meeting. But here, the masculine is held inside the feminine triangle because here the masculine is unborn. It's in the womb of the feminine. So it's a smaller triangle held inside. It is not a larger triangle like a male meeting the female. This is like in the womb. The masculine is a child in the feminine's womb because here the feminine is in a dominant form. So there is a whole geometry of things in this where we are trying to build a body of the feminine to energize it in a certain way. So Devi will sit here, this is also a triangle and this is into the earth, here there are steps going in. Being in the earth is very important for the feminine. So the deity herself is going into the earth and people have to go in to meet her, that's how it is. And there are lots of symbolisms attached and geometry involved in this whole process. In the end, today you have walked in, it's like a construction site. After 2 months you walk into this space, forget about the ambience, walk with your eyes closed. You will see, it'll just hit you in your face, the whole energy of it. That's how it will be.